last few days here at the state capitol building for official action. Believe me, there's going to be plenty more this summer. Hi there, I'm David Smith. Meet the leaders on the road, state capitol building. Beautiful as it is, a lot of these folks, representatives and senators, have seen far more of it than they'd like to this year, and there's more to come this summer. We're pleased to have Representative Terrie Wood with us, representing Darien and Norwalk. Terrie, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Ditto.
I know it has been a very busy time, taking a lot of time, but not necessarily getting a lot done.
Well, good point. We have gotten some good bills done.
Okay.
But the budget remains the big
one.
The big issue, and there does not seem to be middle ground on it. Largely, the Democrats want to spend more, and the Republicans want to cut state spending. There are enough Democrats driving that debate that they feel the wealthy can pay more, corporations can pay more. I understand they're having a hard time getting a budget out of their caucus. We believe strongly that the last two tax increases on our state have not been productive for our state. And you cannot tax your way into prosperity. And that's the Republican point of view, and one that I certainly stand very strongly behind.
Well, also it would seem this year that the Democrats are more fractured than they have been in other years. I mean, for the last few years they've been somewhat fractured, but it seems now, I mean, with this huge handwriting on the wall, all of a sudden people are really stopping and thinking and deciding maybe we can't do what we traditionally would do.
Yes, and I find the middle ground. I mean, I came from the nonprofit world. That's how I ended up serving up here. So I didn't come with a partisan approach. What's been frustrating the last 6 to 8 years is the Democrats have had such large majorities they could shove anything through, even though we could see that it wasn't good for our state. Well, now they no longer have that kind of majority. I mean, there are only 4 seats in the House, and we know it's tied in the Senate.
Right.
So I think there's frustration on their side, and it's almost an arrogance that they don't understand why they just can't, why we don't love all this stuff they're trying to push through. We don't love it because it's not been good for our state. I mean, there's no argument that our state is not in a good fiscal situation.
But when you look and see a $5 billion deficit, I mean, that $5 billion is, all of a sudden it's real money. All of a sudden it should, in many minds, clarify the issue a lot. Right.
It's basic math. But there are about 30 Democrats that feel very strongly that a certain percent of our population should be paying more in taxes. And many of us feel they're already paying enough and that they're leaving. So, and that's proving out. So we just need to rebalance the way we do things in our state.
All right. People think Connecticut's a small state, not a lot of people and so forth, but it is a very diverse state when it comes to areas, such as an area that you might represent, southwestern Connecticut, where 44% of the state coffers are filled with the money from down there.
Right.
So you see a lot of this resentment to being hit again.
Correct.
Tax-wise.
Right, correct. Both in Norwalk and Darien.
Yeah.
And there is frustration that why can't you guys balance a budget? Why can't you figure out why companies are leaving? Why companies don't want to come here? There still is resistance on the Democratic side to really address that. So we just continue to push common sense and hopefully prevail. And we'll see where the session ends. I know we won't have a budget. Most of us know we're not going to have a budget by Wednesday night. Hopefully by the end of June, before the fiscal year starts. The situation is, and I know the governor has in his budget proposed state level, but pushing the tax increases to the municipal level by withholding funding from the municipal level. That doesn't solve the problem either. So we absolutely need to address how we're spending money, where we're spending money, and restructure that.
Well, and add to that, of course, what's going on in Washington. And that certainly is not helping a lot of folks along the way either. I mean, they've been talking about the infrastructure and redoing that. Goodness knows Connecticut is the poster child for needing help with their infrastructure.
Certainly the roads.
But throwing it back on the states and the municipalities is really going to put even more of a squeeze on at a time when they can least affect.
I think certainly on the Medicaid and the Human Services side, I know there's consideration being given in Washington to doing a block grant allocation rather than specific line-by-line allocation. And that may not be a bad thing. We need to know more about it. And it gives the states the freedom to determine how they want to spend that money, that federal allocation. The allocations, I understand, will be close to the same, but we will have the freedom to determine how it should be spent.
It's awfully cloudy out there. And what people understand, what it actually is, remains to be seen. But infrastructure is one of those things that we need desperately, and it looks like it's going to be very difficult for us to get any of that done, be it roads or rails or anything else.
Well, as somebody said to me recently, never let a good crisis, never lose the opportunity. Oh, shoot, what's the expression? Never let a good crisis go to waste. So we can, truly, we can look at this as an opportunity. And this is definitely an inflection point, and we can change the way we do business here. And I believe
we'll watch it with great interest the next few days and the rest of this month, because that's where it's really going to come down, isn't it? Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Representative Terrie Wood, our guest on this edition of Meet the Leaders, as we're trying to close out this session. Very difficult to do with the looming large $5 billion deficit. For Meet the Leaders, I'm David Smith.